take our breaths away with its glow.
Whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. I'm Maria Thompson Corley. If that quote from Philippians resonated with you, stay tuned. I'd love to introduce you to intriguing, creative people whose light is making our world a lovelier place. Welcome to Finding Beauty.
When I told you it was over, all I did was cry, until I realized it was all just a lie. I could never leave you, no matter what you've done. It's hard to understand where my love comes from. Myself, and you changed me for the better. Help me see my worth. So glad that we're together. Can I make your heart my home? Can I make your heart my home?
Today I'm going in a slightly different direction, although perhaps it only makes sense that at least one episode of Finding Beauty should be devoted to someone who is an expert on makeup. I met LA-based celebrity hairstylist and makeup artist Chris Gies in Tallahassee back when he was a college student at Florida A&M, where I was a visiting professor. He never did my hair or my makeup, unfortunately, but what he did do, which will stay with me forever, is serenade me, along with 4 other of the ridiculously talented members of the FAMU concert choir, while we were on the road doing a tour. I will never forget reluctantly opening my motel room door on Mother's Day, my first away from my year-old baby girl, and hearing a flawless rendition of Boyz II Men's song, For Mama. Now he's doing hair and makeup for people way more high-profile than I am, such as Ayan Levanzan, T-Boz, and the Braxtons, to name just a few. Very recently, he was the lead stylist on A Wrinkle in Time, directed by Ava DuVernay. He also styled Beyonce's dancers for the Grammys, so it's an understatement to say that I'm very proud of and inspired by him, because he exemplifies believing in your dream and working your behind off to achieve it. So, as I mentioned, I knew you from Florida A&M, and can you tell me the story of how you began or got the idea that you might want to be a professional hair and makeup artist?
Yes. First of all, let me just start by saying it is an absolute pleasure, and I'm thrilled that we've been able to stay connected for all these years.
Facebook.
I know, right? Gotta love it.
Yeah.
So my journey with hair and makeup actually kind of began during our days in the concert choir, and I remember well most of my time spent with you was during my freshman year. And so as a freshman, adjusting, finding ways to have extra income, I would cut hair in the dorms. And then when I got acclimated with some of the members of the concert choir, you know, when we would have performances or we would be traveling, like you said, we were on tour, I would just help out some of the young ladies with their glam, hair and makeup, more so hair in the beginning, and then it kind of morphed into the makeup arena. I also, because I double majored at FAMU in music and theater, I began to do hair and makeup in the theater. If I wasn't performing in one of the plays or musicals, then we had to be hands-on in some other type of way, either sound or lighting, you know, some type of production. So I chose to work in the costume shop where I had the opportunity to style wigs and be creative as far as makeup for the different productions.
So I know that you come from a long line of cosmetologists, and you said you majored in music and you also majored in theater. So were you aspiring to be an actor, aspiring to be a singer, or, I mean, had you really decided other than that you liked being on stage in some way?
Right. So the interesting thing about my background is that my mother's side of the family, they're all hairstylists and seamstress. My mother has a degree in pattern making and tailoring. And then on the flip side, my father, who is an architect by trade, is also a musician and comes from a family full of singers. He has 12 siblings, and they all sing and perform in some way, shape, or form. So when you put the two together, it kind of just makes sense for me to be an actor, to be a singer, to work in costumes, to be able to build costumes and, work with wigs and makeup. And so I found a love and found a way to put the two together by really engaging in the art of performing, like, all together, whether it be me singing or me being in front of the camera or behind the camera. I just have a love and a passion for, like, the whole unit collectively.
Mhm. And do you get much of a chance to do anything in front of the camera these days? I mean, I know you're doing a lot behind the scenes, but are you in front as well?
I'm not in front in the capacity in which I'd like yet, but we're working towards it. But I do have the opportunity to host different things. I've had the amazing opportunity of being able to sing background for some of my glam clients. And it's not anything that, I like throw up in their face like, hey, I'm a singer as well. But I naturally, like, while I'm working, whether I'm painting a face or working with someone's tresses, I just sing. Like, I always have a candle lit and I have my music playing. So I just naturally sing while I'm working. And oftentimes I don't even realize how much I'm singing or how loud I'm singing because it really is it's just as natural for me.
About us, take off your mask, all the tricks you pulled.
And so they pick up on it, and whether they hear me like full out sing, they're like, oh, I hear your tone, or, I heard that run. And so one thing, has led to another where I've been afforded the opportunity to sing background for them either in the studio or spot date. For example, T-Boz, each year she has a concert, T-Boz Unplugged, and it supports her sickle cell foundation. And so I've been able to sing background for that for her for the past 4 years. And often I have the opportunity to sing along with her, because she sings in such a low register. I have the opportunity to double her, and that is just mind-blowing still.
Yeah, no, I mean, I saw on another interview that you mentioned a project that you were working on with T-Boz. Is that what you meant, or do you have something else in the works with her?
Yes. Well, I have a radio show, which I'm sure you want to get to.
I was.
But my radio show, the host for the radio show is Dash Radio, which is an internet-based platform. And at Dash Radio, different celebrities have their own stations. So my radio show airs on T-Boz's station, which is called iCraft Radio. And so that's one project that we have together, and I have the opportunity to have creative control over my show, and I've partnered with her through Dash Radio. And then we have some other things going on as well concerning the music. She's been very instrumental in helping me with my music career. She owns her own studio, which she allows me to use scot-free, which that alone is an amazing blessing. And then she's partnered me with some of her writers and producers. So we have a great working relationship with glam and music.
Now, can you describe your radio show a little bit more? Like who comes on your show?
So the name of the radio show is The Bar Radio Show, and our tagline is where he's still turning water to wine. So it's actually an inspirational / Christian-based show where we play gospel music. But the talk is everything. We talk politics, social media, current events, like whatever's going on in the world and in the news, we talk about it. I have a co-host. His name is Tyler Tyson. He is a rattler as well, and I met him through the concert choir. And so it's a blessing to always be connected to fellow rattlers. Um, and so on our show, like I said, we talk about everything. So we really do have a gamut of guests, whether it be an actual gospel artist or if it's just like Michelle Williams or T-Boz, of course, because she's our big boss. And then we have Tweet, who's an R&B singer and a client of mine. SWV, I've had them call in several times. And even Omarosa. Omarosa has called to share some light on the political scene for us or, you know, to talk about some of the backlash that she has received within the past year or two.
She quit,
It's very
I
diverse,
heard.
so she did.
I heard that
this
she
morning.
quit,
Well,
yes.
it hit the airways this morning, but
Yeah.
this past Friday she resigned.
Yeah. Okay, well, I guess that we'll let her say more about that. I guess you can tell me off after we're done what happened.
Off the record, right.
Yeah, exactly. So, she was one of your first, or was your first celebrity client, is that right?
Yes, she actually was. When I first moved to LA, I had the opportunity to work backstage at the Image Awards, the salon that I was working for at the time. They were providing free touch-ups for glam backstage, and the owner was like, hey, you want to do this job? And I'm like, of course. And he's like, it's not paid. And I'm like, that's fine. And I went, and he introduced me to so many people, and I made a lot of connections that particular day, and I met her. And she was like, can I come to the salon tomorrow? And I was like, of course. Now, in the back of my mind, and I'm generally not like a pessimist. I'm always very optimistic and very hopeful, but I was thinking like, yeah, she'll come tomorrow, sure. And so the next day she called early that morning and she was like, I'm so sorry. I have an audition that I have to get to. Would you mind if I come on Monday? And so typically, salons are closed on Monday, but I was like, hey, if you need to come on Monday, come on Monday. And lo and behold, she got there on Monday. Her appointment was at 9, and she got there at like 8:45. And I was already there and prepared and waiting. And that alone blew her mind. Like the idea that she didn't have to get there and wait for me, because, you know, that unfortunately happens a lot in the hair salon.
Oh, yeah, well, it's kind of almost part of the course. Yeah. I mean, I don't know her. People have a certain image of her, and obviously, you know, my mom has told me that you should speak of people in the way that you find them. In other words, what other people say about people, I mean, you may file that in the back of your mind, but, I mean, the way that they treat you should govern the way that you relate to them. And so I assume that, you know, regardless of what image or negative things may have been said about her, she was the person who gave you your start. So I imagine that you've got something.
Yes, absolutely. And of course there are 2, sometimes 3 sides to every story. So, you know, the energy that she conveys and portrays in certain areas of her life, that's something that I had never been privy to. And so I was able to learn and grow and see her in a different light. And I know her whole family. You know, I've been a part of her family. Oh wow, it's been 10 years now. And so I've seen her ups and downs, goods, bads. That's the one thing about glam. It's like we oftentimes get to see people in their most vulnerable space and light. And so I do oftentimes get to know my clients in a different setting than the average person would be able to know them.
That makes sense. You mentioned that your radio show is about gospel music, and that clearly you talk about all kinds of things, and, you know, religion has to be a part of it if you're playing gospel music. But have you always felt embraced by the church?
I actually have always felt embraced by the church. I kind of would have to give credit to my mother and my grandmother, whom I was raised by both. They've always taught me and encouraged me to be firm on who I am and to be confident in who I am. So being very active in the church, it was just an added bonus to the young man that they were raising and the person that I already was. Of course, there's all type of bashing that happens, unfortunately, in the church because people tend to have issues with the things that they don't necessarily know about, that they aren't educated on, or that they just don't agree with. So they tend to lash out or have things to say about that. But I've been blessed enough to not have to deal with any of that type of hurt or pressure in the church. I've really always been able to just be free and be who I am and be talented, be a musician, be a vocalist, and it definitely has helped strengthen me for my latter years with how I deal with my clients.
So when you made the jump from Philly to LA, I know that you had very little money. I can't remember the exact amount, but it was, how much money did you have?
So I had $60.
It was something ridiculous. In Los Angeles, does that even buy you a hot dog? I mean, like, wow. So, I mean,
well, you know what?
Go ahead.
It's funny you asked me that because I came here with $60. I'd actually saved more to move from Tallahassee to LA, but series of unfortunate events that led up to me coming, and I was like, well, you know what? I'm still going. And I moved here, and another Rattler friend of mine, he was like, hey, you can stay with me. You don't have to pay me anything. Just get on your feet, and, you know, then you'll be able to move out. And I'm like, okay, great. So I get there on Tuesday, and we immediately go to the grocery store. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I haven't had time. My cupboards are there. So we go to this grocery store, and he's like, oh, get whatever you want. And we're like walking the aisles, and I'm thinking, now, because of who I am and how I was raised, of course I'm going to volunteer to pay for half. Like, hey, we can split it. So as he's getting things, I'm like calculating in my mind.
Yeah.
Because I only have $60.
Yeah.
So he's like putting stuff in the basket, and like when he turns to walk away, I'll like take it out and put it back on the shelf.
Did he notice? I would think he.
No, not really, because it was like snacks and stuff. He was like, you know, I don't have any of this in the house. I don't get a bag of Doritos or this or that. And so it wasn't, you know, necessities.
Right.
So I'm like taking little things out. So we get to the register, and when the lady gives us the total, and I think I would have been safe because I think the total was like $120 or something like that. So I really could have offered my whole $60. But I was like, here, I'll pay for half. And he was like, no, I got it. He was like, you just got here. He was like, I intended to do this. You're good. And I was like, whew, thank you.
Because, I mean, in LA, from what I understand, you really need to be able to get around. I mean, if all you had was $60 and you'd spent it on food, how were you even going to go out? Was he just driving you all over the place for the first little while?
Right. No, actually, he was not driving me at all. I had my truck shipped here, but it had not made it. It was well, here's the thing. I got here on January 8th, 2008, and my truck was supposed to be here on the 10th. It did not come until the 30th.
Oh.
I know. But the good thing about that is I was able to do a lot of walking and hop on public transportation, which helped me learn the city. Which was a really good thing because, one, the traffic here is just absolutely ridiculous. So being able to be on public transportation was actually kind of a treat. I didn't know it then, but it was. And like I said, it helped me become acclimated to the city, which was really good.
But were you ever nervous about the whole thing, or were you just so sure that it was going to work out that you didn't even have a plan B? You were just like, here I am, LA is going to work for me, and I'm just going to, you know, it's happening.
I never had a plan B. I really didn't. My mother raised me actually to not have a plan B because she said if you plan for B, you automatically told your mind that you might not succeed. And so that has never been an option for me, even with leaving Philadelphia, and I left the day I graduated high school. Leaving Philadelphia and going to Tallahassee, I only knew one person. I never, lived in the South before. So it was a big leap of faith for me, but I just knew, like, I had that gut instinct that FAMU was where I was supposed to be. I wanted to go there because it was at HBCU and I'd be able to know people all around the world. And so that is exactly what has happened. And so when it was time for me to leave Tallahassee and come here, I just had that same gut instinct and that same leap of faith. And I just was assured that it would work. And again, plan B was not an option.
Also, I should add that you worked very, very hard to get yourself where you are. I mean, like, again, in this other article, how many business cards you must have given out, like, in the first, I can't remember that exact story, but it was something you had.
Oh, my gosh.
Time.
So,
yeah, go ahead.
Yes, again, this same salon owner, his name is Sugar Arnold. Yes, like sugar you sweeten food with.
I got it.
He literally was like, hey, we're going to get these black and white cards. They're only $20 for a box of 1,000. And he was like, we should give out 1,000 a week.
Wow.
And I was like, 1,000 a week? He was like, yeah, we should give out all your business cards every week. And so we did. We had, it was a generic card for his salon. And if you use the generic card, this black and white card, he actually paid for it. So that was even a blessing. So yeah, so he gives you these 1,000 cards, and as long as you use them up, he'll replenish them. And so we would go to all kinds of events and just give out cards. And, you know, I noticed one time, I never forget, we were at the Beverly Hilton, and a lady, I gave her the card, and when I walked away, she threw it down on the ground. And I was about to pick it up. And he said, well, no, as long as the card is face up, leave it. He was like, because somebody's going to see it and pick it up. And literally 2 years later, a lady called my cell phone, and she said, hi, I have this business card. I found it on the ground a long time ago, but I was wondering if you still do hair. And when I tell you the look on my face, I could not believe it. I was like, you are freaking kidding me. Yeah. And yeah, and oddly enough, this lady is a very large exec in the entertainment industry. She's actually the vice president of Disney. And
she picks up cards off the ground?
She just happened to pick this card. I don't know where she picked it up. I don't know, I don't know, but at the time she was the president of what was then the Style Network. Uh-huh. And so the salon is around the corner from her office. Uh-huh. And she said, it's just a convenient location. She was like, I would love to come in. And so she came in, and she actually brought her mother-in-law to have her hair done because she was in town for the holiday. And we had such a great conversation. The mother-in-law went back and told this lady so much about me, and she was like, he went to HBCU and this and that, because she attended Howard. And so I don't know how much longer after that, but she ended up coming. She was like, my mother-in-law talked about you so much, I just had to come meet you and get my hair done by you. And that turned into what is still now a client as well. And I've been able to work on productions for her and magazine shoots and the whole gamut, just based off of our relationship.
Wow. And I'm not going to ask the question associated with this because you've kind of answered it, but one of the reasons that I wanted to interview you is your faith in your ability to make things happen is just really an inspiration for me because I'm kind of a skeptic for my own, not for you, but, I struggle with just like this whole thing of are some people charmed or some people are not as charmed. And I suppose you could say that about anything. It's like, some people work harder and some people are in the right place at the right time. But, I mean, obviously without the gifts and the work ethic, it wouldn't matter. You still wouldn't be where you are. So kudos, definitely. When I'm in the chair or getting my hair done, a lot of times the stylist can be almost a therapist or a sounding board. And the thing that I get from you, and I meant to mention that when you said something about lighting a candle and things like that, is a fundamental kindness about the way that you deal with me. And so I'm sure your clients get that same thing. So I just wanted to make it clear that there's a lot more to your success than just the considerable talent and the considerable hard work.
I actually pride myself on being very consistent at all times. Now, what I go through at home, okay, that's different. But even in my home and in my personal life, I pride myself on being very consistent. So my clients know that they have a confidant in me. They share a lot of their personal information, and as I mentioned earlier, I'm with them at some of their most vulnerable times. Oftentimes the public don't get to see them without makeup, and I do. Or, I get to see them before they put their Spanx on, and I'm helping them put their Spanx on.
Yeah.
So there's a level of trust that they, of course, have with me. In that it's not just conversation, but again, I'm in their personal space. I'm oftentimes in their homes. I'm oftentimes left alone with them and their husbands or significant others, trust me in that arena.
Yeah.
When it comes to my physical work, I light a candle, I play music, and I'm very aware of the type of music that I play as well, because again, it's an energy thing. Oftentimes I'm the last person that my talent is with prior to being susceptible to the masses, prior to going on stage or walking the red carpet or being a part of an interview or on the television camera. And so I don't take that lightly. It's a weight that comes along with it, because I pick up on all types of things from them. My discernment kicks in very, very heavily. And so, again, I don't take it lightly. I don't play with that gift or that opportunity either. And that's why it's so hard for me to find an assistant. A lot of people have the skills and the talent to do what I do, but again, because of all the things that I mentioned, traveling with these people, being in their homes, being in their hotel rooms, there's a little bit more than just having the gift of being to do hair that comes along with what I do.
So you're kind of, if I may use the word, almost ministering to their inner selves, even as you're doing their outer selves. Was that a fair statement?
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, because I was thinking I have kind of a strange relationship with the whole external thing, as far as, obviously I'm a performer, and so I'm very aware of, okay, if I'm wearing a gown and having the certain details to the best of my ability without having a stylist other than myself, but, trying to present a certain image or whatever that is. And I also am aware that the world judges not just women these days, but, has judged women a lot by how we look, and having a slight resentment of the fact that people can be just drawn to what you look like, and that's all they need to know, But then I realize that I have some of that in me, and I know that when I am all done up for a concert, I feel, I don't know, I just feel more like, it's not power, I guess, but just confidence, I guess is the word that I'm looking for. So, my bare face should be enough for anybody, and I feel that it is, and a lot of times these days I don't even bother to put on makeup. But on the other hand, I realize that there's something about enhancements, whether it's that I don't wear sweats outside, but I'm wearing a nice outfit. It's just sort of the final touch, and it can lift you when you're feeling down.
Yeah, it does, because it oftentimes, not that I have clients that go through a whole bunch of turmoil or whatever, but we all go through life's ups and downs, and so oftentimes we have to, there's a product that we use that's called concealer, and it is to help to blend imperfections and any type of imperfections that may. Dark circles and puffy eyes and so forth and so on. And so we're doing just that. When it's time for us to perform, when it's time for me to show up to help a client get prepared to do whatever it is they do in their facet of entertainment, I oftentimes am that concealer to help them cover up whatever it is they're going through at that moment, so that they then can be as close to perfect as they possibly can for whatever their audience. And it definitely is tasking, and I'm grateful for my religious background because I then know how to release that energy so that I'm not now burdened down with the burdens of the 20-some people that I deal with per week. You know, pending however many glam I have to do. Sometimes I'm glamming 3, 4, 6 people a day.
Wow.
And so if I wasn't equipped my own self to handle it and be able to release it, then next thing I know, I'll be cuckoo. Trying to deal with everybody else's issues.
Yeah. So when somebody walks in, and is it something that you plan, you think, okay, well, these are the trends, or is it just whatever energy that person brings on that day, you say, okay, I think I'm going to do this?
Oftentimes it is based upon like their energy and what they're wearing, what they're performing at. There's so many different things that go into how we develop what the look is. And then sometimes it's all the way planned out. Like for the Grammys, for example, for Beyonce, of course, that was very calculated down to a science as far as what each individual dancer would look like, and there were production meetings, and there were this idea, scratch it, to come to a final agreement on what the looks would be. But with my personal clients, it definitely is often based upon what they're wearing, what they're attending, and then their energy.
Now, with the Beyonce thing, and I hate to go back to Beyonce, but she's kind of...
Oh, no, I don't know.
Well, no, I was just going to ask you...
It's hard not to.
Yeah, exactly. But I was just going to ask you, I mean, was that nerve-wracking? I mean, at this stage of the game, you've been doing this a long time. You've worked with a lot of really high-profile people in a lot of high-profile situations. I know that I've been on stage, I don't know how many times, but I still get really nervous. But is it the sort of thing that you walk in and you say, okay, I'm doing Beyonce's dancers, whatever, you know, I know what I'm doing. It doesn't matter who's doing what. We've talked about it. Or are you sort of like, oh, damn, I'm doing Beyonce's dancers for the Grammys. I hope it turns out.
That's an excellent question. Actually, with the Grammys specifically, so because I was the key hairstylist for her VMA's performance, which was probably a year prior to the Grammy performance, and I was in charge of 20 hairstylists, again, to get the dancers prepared. And at that time, she had 100 dancers.
Whoa.
And so that particular time, it was just sprung on me at the moment. I thought I was there just to be one of the 20 hairstylists. But when we got there, Beyonce's personal hairstylist, Kim Kimball, she's like, well, I know you got it. I trust you with the job. Like, you're more than capable. Handle it. And so she disappeared. And she and Beyonce was like in a total different another part of the building. And we just had, like I said, there was a lot of planning. We had vision boards and so forth and so on. And so I just made sure that, you know, the team stayed on track, and we had a week to prepare for that. And so we were able to do it, and Beyonce she's very hands-on, so she would come in and just check the progress of what we were doing and making sure the vision boards were matching, you know, the concepts that we were developing. And so fast forward to the Grammys, Kim Kimball was leaving to go to New Zealand to continue to work on A Wrinkle in Time, because that's how I was able to get on that movie as well, because of Kim Kimball. And so Beyonce was nervous, like, what do you mean you're not going to be here? And she's like, yeah, I have to go to do the movie, finish the movie. She said, but don't worry, I'm going to leave Chris G's in charge. And so Kim told me once she said that, Beyonce was like, oh, girl, what are you still doing here? You better go catch your plane.
Wow.
And so for me, that is a huge compliment, because that means that she trusts me. She trusts that the vision that was developed in the production meetings, again, will be followed through. And to answer your question directly, I was not nervous at all,
Yeah.
One, I have been doing this for a very long time, but
Yeah.
I was confident in the team members that I had, and just confident that I'll be able to deliver exactly what she's asking for.
Yeah. I mean, I will say I'm not at this stage of the game thinking, oh, I'm going to completely fall on my face. It's just sort of, there's certain situations where you feel like you really want to bring your very, very best. And,
right.
you know, yeah. But I mean, I would expect that, based on what I know about you and, you know, what I'm learning about you, that, that sort of thing is like you just have this, to me, inspiring way of just knowing, you know, in a way, you know, just knowing it's going to be fine, and then it is, and then that confirms that the next time it's going to be fine, and then it is. I mean, I'm not saying you never have any situation in your life that doesn't turn out exactly the way you planned, but
right,
in this particular realm, in this particular realm, it seems like, you know, you sort of built, and also, I guess, if karma is the thing related to what I've said with approaching people with a certain degree of kindness and openness, then, you know, that is its own reward, but it also can be rewarding in the fact that people want to be around you.
Prime example, this past weekend, I actually had the opportunity to do the legendary Jennifer Holliday.
Oh,
and,
wow.
I mean, not only is she an absolute living legend, but I'm like a Dreamgirls fanatic, like all the way from the original.
Yeah.
And with her being a part of the original cast, it was like amazing. So I literally was like, prior to going, I was like, oh my gosh, I hope I can match her foundation. And I had that brief thought, and then I was like, really? Like, of course you can. You'll approach it the same way you approach anybody else that you've done, that you do for the first time. And, you know, I'll just set up and do what I know to do, and she'll be pleased. And so I just did have that brief moment. It literally crossed my mind, and then I totally, like, canceled out that thought to encourage myself to know, like, you've got this.
You still get a little bit starstruck then. I mean, like, for that moment. Because, I mean, I was thinking Beyonce would do that, but I see that you mentioned that Oprah is one of your dream clients. And I guess you wouldn't know if you get starstruck around her or not. But, yeah, I guess I hear that about a lot of people, though, like whoever they are. Like, if I never met Prince, I don't know. I hope I would have been able to speak. But I can't guarantee it. Probably, like, you know, the moment would probably pass pretty quickly. He probably would have said a couple quiet words that I could barely hear and then gone into the studio to do something.
Yeah.
Like, can I play the piano for you? And then I probably would have, where's middle C?
Well, what definitely, where's middle C, right. Brain just fried, like.
Yeah, exactly.
What am I here for again? But no, what you've mentioned already, for me, definitely helps the idea that in my mind, I mean, we're all humans and we're all God's children. And so I approach it that way. You know, we just all have different tax brackets, different talents, and so forth and so on. So even with Oprah, though I've not done her directly, I've been around her enough now to know that when it is my time to do her, I'll be just fine. Because one, she's a kind, loving soul, and she is very stern on what she wants, so she can verbalize what she wants, and then that way I'll be able to deliver.
Okay. That's what I forgot, because through Jan Levanzant, have you said you've been around Oprah, or you've just been around enough to know? No,
I've been around Oprah. She's actually in A Wrinkle in Time.
So I've been around her for, right. I forgot.
I've been around her for that. And then India Irie is one of my clients. And India was on Super Soul Sunday. So I was around Oprah probably for about 4 days when we shot that. And her makeup artist, who is Derek Rutledge, is a very close friend of mine. And so I've had the opportunity, you know, just to be around them.
Okay, so you're going to, I mean, that's not like a, you know, bucket list thing that you're thinking, you know, pie in the sky. I mean, it's going to happen, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, no, not far-fetched at all. As a matter of fact, he's waiting for an opportunity where he's unavailable so that he can recommend me.
That's great. Wow.
Because we've had this conversation time and time again. But the screensaver on my cell phone is actually a picture of Oprah and myself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
no, and I forgot about the Wrinkle in Time connection. I mean, I have been reading about it, and looking forward to it and reading. In fact, she had an interview with In Vogue or something where she was talking about the movie. So, yeah, I mean, I know that that's a thing, and she seemed very, very approachable and down to earth and all that sort of stuff. Like,
yes, absolutely.
Nonsense at the stage of her life. So that's cool.
You know, the one thing I found with most of these celebrities, and oftentimes some that get a bad rep as far as being nasty to fans or situations like that, it's oftentimes the people that work around them.
Oh, okay.
And so it makes them appear that way, but the actual talent, they're just down to earth, very humble. They're appreciative that people buy into whatever talent it is that they're selling. And so it's a catch-22 because I get it that you have to have people around you who have your best interests at heart. So if I've worked on a film for 15 hours today and I'm coming outside to get in the car, yeah, I don't want to sign 100 autographs and take 50 photos, but I'll at least do maybe 4 to 6. And so then it's the job of my workers to say, okay, no, we have to take Miss Winfrey away or pull her away, because otherwise the kindness of the talent really does take effect, and they really do want to take pictures with everybody, but they're just downright exhausted or have other places to go, and, you know, they have lives as well. And we as fans sometimes forget that. And so it's their staff that sometimes make it appear as though they're not the nicest.
Yeah. Well, I instruct my staff to be very kind. So anyway, yeah, I have my imaginary staff. Nice personality. Anyway, do you ever worry about spreading yourself too thin with all these projects you're trying to do?
You know what? Every now and then, I kind of say, wow, this is happening, or wow, I have so many things on my plate. And then I think, am I overwhelmed? Am I spreading myself too thin? Should I have said no to this particular gig? And then I immediately shake it off and I'm like, oh, heck no, this is what I prayed for. No, I'm equipped for this. The one thing that I can say is that oftentimes here in LA, people always ask me how I do it, especially other stylists, because of social media, they have the opportunity to see a lot of the things that I'm doing, and they're like, how do you do it all? But I've been this person all my life. Like, prior to college and high school, I was a part of like a community choir, and I was a part of a community orchestra, and then there was my church, and then there was the after school theater program I was a part of, and I had a job. And so being busy and doing the things that I loved has just always come natural to me, and it's always what I've done. Thankfully, my grandmother has always kept me active. So really, for me to not be active and not be a part of a whole lot of different things, I think I would go crazy. I would be like bored and like sitting around twiddling my thumbs. And because I'm a Gemini, I get bored kind of easy with one thing. So the idea of being creative in a lot of different areas really, really keeps me motivated and keeps me active. And then when I got to FAMU, again, majoring in theater and music and having to be a part of the concert choir as required, and having to be a part of production because that was required. And being in 2 fraternities, it like kept me so busy.
You were in 2, Phi Mu Alpha, 2 fraternities? But like, I guess one was Phi Mu Alpha, is that right? The music fraternity.
So one is Phi Mu Alpha, which is a music fraternity, and then I'm also a member of Kappa Alpha Psi, which is a social fraternity.
Right. Yeah, and I should mention, I was going to mention way back, but then I lost track, was that For people who don't know what Rattler is, that was the team at Florida A&M University. That's what Rattlers are.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Strike and strike and strike again.
Yes, and strike again.
Anyway, okay. Let me ask you, what comes to mind when you hear the word beauty?
Happy birthday, baby. Yeah. Another year you done got younger. I know it's starting to bother you, but every time I see it, I'm like, so what? So what, you got a wrinkle?
When I hear the word beauty, I immediately think inner, like an inner glow. I just tell people I only enhance what God has already given my client. So I don't want people to think, even when I'm doing makeup, that I'm creating a face or creating a look. Of course, if it's something avant-garde or, something special, that's different. But as far as natural, everyday glam, I think that's what beauty is. It's what you have going on inside that we then see exuded on the outside. And that just helps touch it up.
I love that. And so the last question that I ask everybody, and I'm, the people that I talk to a lot of times are in the performing arts in some way, or I think I've not so much talked to visual artists, but even people who love to collect visual art. But what you do is absolutely an art form. And do you think that art can change the world?
I do. I know for a fact that art can change the world. Whether it's music, a visual art, painting, a movie, like it's something that's universal where people have the opportunity to really feel the passion or the love for it in their heart, whether it's a beautiful melody or, again, if it's something visual. Most of us are blessed to be able to have sight, so we can just look at it and develop a story for ourselves, or look at it and feel the emotion that comes natural for us. And that's something that's universal. It's something that can be shared no matter your race, color, gender, whatever, And that's, again, especially with music, it transcends those things like race and gender and sexuality.
Yeah. And, what I should have also said was that you are a performing artist. It's just the things that I first associated you with were the hair and the makeup that you do, but clearly, you are a performer, and so, yeah, I should throw that in. But is there a place where people can see some of what you do? Like if they're saying, wow, I wonder what kind of hairstyles he does, is there, like, online?
They can.
Yeah?
I do. So I have a website. It's chrisgees.net.
Okay.
And then there's Instagram and Facebook, both of which the name is just Chris Gees. That's ChrisGees.
Okay. Excellent.
Yes.
Well, I wish you continued success. Not that my wishes are needed.
No, I appreciate it.
But all the best to you, and thank you so much for taking the time. I'm Maria Thompson Corley. Yes, it's been a long time. Since I've actually heard your voice, really.
Yes.
So I'm Maria Thompson Corley, and thank you for listening to Finding Beauty.
The theme music for Finding Beauty is Symphony of Light, written and performed by Kiana Corley, with assistance on the cello from Allegra Banks. Rusty Banks was the producer. Right now, you're listening to Liszt's Petrarch Sonnet No. 104, performed by yours truly. You can hear the rest of it on my CD, Music from the Novel Letting Go, available on CreateSpace and Amazon. If you're interested, you can check me out at mariacorley.com or mariasworld.us. You can also find me on Twitter, at Maria Corley, or YouTube. My recordings are available through Albany or Amazon. My novel, Letting Go, is available on Smashwords, CreateSpace, Barnes & Noble, and Amazon. Or drop me a line on my site, and I'll send you a signed copy. I want to leave you with one more quote. Do your little bit of good where you are. It's the little bits of good put together that overwhelm the world. Desmond Tutu. Have a beautiful day.